I'm Liz.
I'm Robbie. Welcome back to our channel Bookworm Couple. It is time for another monthly wrap-up and a TBR for August. July is rolling on out here, and pretty good month, I think.
Great month.
Yeah.
I read many books.
I read less than normal, but that's okay.
Who are you?
I have one less than normal, but
that's okay. I read probably a lot more. Not than you, but than normal.
What did we start this month out with? I honestly don't remember which video came out first.
Schmercy?
It was either Schmercy, good lord. It was either Schmercy or it was Akamath.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. It's both of those. So.
Doesn't matter. Let's do Schmercy first.
Yeah.
So we read The Mark of Athena, which is the third book in the Heroes of Olympus series by Rick Riordan. And
lovingly by me called the Schmercy Jackson series.
The Schmercy Jackson series.
Because it's not Percy Jackson.
And I liked this. I think I gave this a 4. I liked it slightly better than the first, but less than the second. I think that it was good. I loved that we were focusing on Annabeth. We got to go to, light spoilers, but we got to go to Rome, which was super cool. But, you know, the issue I've had with really this whole second Percy Jackson series is the books are all...
Too long.
Like significantly longer, like 100 to 200 pages longer, and the formula stays the same, which means it feels like there's a decent amount of filler.
Yeah, feels very youthful in a non-youthful book. That's not quite what I meant. I guess the style of it feels very... It's a lot of that kind of a style for 600 pages.
For that many pages.
Yeah,
yes.
For that many pages.
But overall, I still really liked it. I like the story they're telling. The ending is crazy.
It really is.
The ending is absolutely
wild.
Like
the girlies.
But overall, yeah, I mean, still a fun time. But I keep hoping to see like maybe some kind of change to the formula, but he seems to be sticking with the tried and true. So what can you do? Okay. But still a really fun time. After that, we read, by we I mean I, read the second book in the Court of Thorns and Roses series. That's what the series is called, right?
Yeah.
Court of Thorns and Roses, yes. A Court of Mist and Fury, is that right? Akamath.
Akamath.
And I liked this book quite a bit more than I liked the first one. Wasn't a huge fan of the first one. This, I believe, I gave a 4. For more details on any of these, you can watch our videos. You'll find the descriptions, the links in the description down below. But overall, I just thought that this story had much more of an identity. I feel like the first book was just kind of like, okay, what are we doing here? And this book, you really was trying to tell a very specific story, and I think for the most part it succeeded in it. There was a whole cast of new characters, all of which I pretty much universally loved. We got to go to a bunch of new locations, some of which were really, really cool. There were some big-scale battle scenes. There was some great character work done, a good slow burn romance. Yeah, I mean, some dealing with mental health and depression and post-traumatic stress, all of which was very, very good. You know, there's still a major character that I'm just, like, not the hugest fan of, but I've just decided, I mean, I gotta...
Get on board, baby.
I just need to get on board, and or at least just be able to read it without really caring about certain aspects of that, which I have luckily been able to do, and so I am quite looking forward to the third book, which I have just started as of yesterday. The Court of Wings and Ruin. I only know that because it's sitting over there and I was able to read it. But yeah, so very, very excited to continue on with the series and keep moving forward. After that, you didn't read a Wheel of Time book this month, did you?
I didn't. I'm in the midst of it. I'm actually almost finished with it.
So what other videos?
We did a yearly rating.
Yeah,
our top 5 books of the year.
Yeah, our top 5 books of the year, 1 dishonorable mention each as well. But yeah, so we did a different type of video, one we've never done before, but it's kind of just a look back now that we're over halfway through the year on some of our favorite reads so far this year. Not ranking or anything, but if you are interested in watching that, again, you can find the link in the description down below. We had a lot of fun making it. And yeah, those are the books that we read and talked about on the channel this month. Did you read anything on your own?
I read a bunch of books this month.
Oh my gosh,
Yay!
how many? That's so exciting.
I also talked about almost all of them in the top 5, which is kind of crazy.
I actually was realizing that while I was editing it. I was like, oh man, I think all of these are going to come up in the wrap.
I read pretty much all of them in the month of July. Basically in the first 2 weeks of July, I was really going in. We had a nice vacation home, so we had lots of time to read. So this month I started out the month by finishing the, what's it called? The Letters of Enchantment series by Rebecca Ross. That's Divine Rivals, and the one that I read was book 2, Ruthless Vows.
Okay, Ruthless Vows.
Really, really loved it. I had such a great experience. I'm realizing with myself reading series, I love reading series, but it's either I don't love the first one as much and the rest of them get so much better, or I really love the first one and the rest of them are kind of like, huh, okay. Not bad necessarily, because I really liked this book. I thought, you know, we had a lot of closure from the the storytelling from the first book, but I think because delving more into the details of the world and more into the lore, it was less focused on the characters that I loved so much, and the journey had to be more intricate and specific, I guess. But I thought it was a nice ending to the series. There's just 2 books, which is kind of fun every once in a while. I normally only really dig into a trilogy because I get very sad when I have to leave my friends. But this duology was really nice, and I enjoyed it. I understand why people love the Divine Rivals series a lot. Then I read my first beach read of the summer, which is Funny Story by Emily Henry, which
that was this month, huh?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, well, you had a big month.
I had a big month. I love an Emily Henry book. They're basically some of the only one-off books that I will read because they're so good, and I do get sad when I have to leave my friends, but they're so good it's worth it. And every single one is just this perfect little snow globe of a love story, and this one was set in northern Michigan. I grew up in Ohio, so it was a lot of the similar lake vibe summer that I loved. I thought the characters were delightfully realistic and hysterical, and the love story was very relatable and also very healing, and it was just a delight. I've never read an Emily Henry book that I didn't enjoy, and I loved this one. This is her most recent book. And then, yes, that's what I call it. I always forget the names of series because a lot of times they're not the names of the books, and it's oh, this is the Kindred's Curse series, and I'm oh, okay. So anyway,
okay, jeez.
So then I read 3 books in the Kindred's Curse series by Penfold.
Something?
Oh, do you want me to talk about that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I DNF'd a book. I feel bad about it. I think I've only ever done it maybe 3 times in my life, to be honest with you. My whole life. Jeez. I usually just finish a book even if I don't like it because I really want to know what happens and what if I do like it at the end.
What if you do?
I read Friendzone. I read about 20 pages. That's how much I got into it before I gave up on it. Of Friendzone by Abby Jimenez. I believe you say Jimenez. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. If I am not, correct me, please. I've heard great things about this author. I know a lot of people that love her most recent books. I couldn't get it at my library, so I decided, I Googled on the internet, where should I start with Abby Jimenez? And this was the book, and I hated it. And it's no offense to the author. I don't think she's a bad author. It was not the characters for me. The vibe was not for me. The story was not for me. In just the way that it just was not for me. A lot of kind of triggering social aspects that, again, not my vibe, probably someone else's, totally fine. I put it down, didn't read it. So after that, I kind of diverted from my idea to just keep reading a bunch of beach reads and romances for the summer and dove into a new fantasy series. And boy, am I glad I did, because that's just home and it makes me so happy. So I read the first 3 books in the Kindred's Curse series. The most recent one is hopefully coming out soon. It was supposed to come out at the end of July, and
did you just finish the 3rd one?
Yeah. Anywho, the Kindred's Curse series by, did I say Penfold? By Penfold. Obsessed with the series. Absolutely loved it. It's very ACOTAR adjacent. It definitely gives me a lot of Blood and Ash vibes. The style of the writing and the characters. The slow burn is the slowest slow burn of slow burns. The slowest burn. The first one, absolutely fabulous. 5 stars. Obsessed with DM, the main character. We love a female character who is taught to be a warrior, so there is no doubt at all that she can fight for herself. A lot of big reveals, a lot of magic and no magic, mortal and magical beings, and a lot of commentary on morality. What is right and what is wrong? Is sacrificing anyone for the greater good worth the greater good, or is that an enemy in and of itself? Mm-hmm. And that's a constant question in these books that I think are very relatable to anyone, really, of studying prejudices and, privilege, and what it feels like to live in a reality with an immense elite. And boy, do I wish I had magic. But it studied commentary on a lot of really interesting societal themes. And when there's magic involved, I think it's always kind of easier to take that in and really think about it. And I think it's really beautifully written. I think the first book was phenomenal. The first book is about 300 pages. Second book is about 600, and the third book is 1,000. So my first thought was that they get slow, but they don't necessarily get slower, they get longer. So I still really liked it. I will say there are a few tropes that this author has really decided to go in on that could be slightly frustrating while reading. But in general, I absolutely love them, and I'm having a great time in this world, and I cannot wait for the next one. Huzzah! That's what I read this month.
Huzzah! That's so many books. That's like 4 books. And one of them was 1,000 pages long.
4, yeah. 5. Well, technically 6.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Honestly, kind of 7, because I'm about 70% through The Path of Daggers.
The Path of Daggers.
Basically, I'm champion.
You really are.
I am a summer reader champion. Though I will say, this feels right, because it's kind of unlocked the childhood version of Liz, who was the library summer reader champion, pretty much always. They'd be like, oh yeah, you read this many books. I'm like, that many books? Let's double it. The nerd comes out. Okay, Robbie, what did you read this month?
This month, I read a few things. I am still making my way through the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn trilogy by Tad Williams. So I read Stone of Farewell, or The Stone of Farewell, I forget. But that took up a lot of my month. I still really like these books. They're just slower, and it takes me a while to get through them, which, anything taking more than a week is pretty long. And the last book in the series is like one of the longest single novels written, at least in fantasy. So I don't know if I'm going to finish it next month, but
okay.
We'll see. But anyway, so I read Stone of Farewell. It continues the story of Simon on his quest to, essentially save the world. The kitchen boy brought up kind of chosen one type story, very classic fantasy. I think that this book moved a bit faster than the first one. I know that a lot of people struggle with the first book because the beginning of the book is very, very slow. This book is not that. It just continues the plot lines exactly where we left them, and so we're moving a lot more. There are characters that get split up, there are characters that get brought together, there's a lot of new locations. The world building continues to be extremely fascinating, one of the strengths, absolutely, of it. And the prose is beautiful. It feels like Ted Williams reined it in a little bit, unlike the really, really intense descriptions from the first one, which is great. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of setup for what the next book is, which I think is like well over 1,000 pages long, and there's a lot of things that need to be resolved. So I'm very, very interested to see how the last book goes. There's also a huge reveal. At least I thought it was a huge reveal at the end of the second book that like made me gasp. Yeah, it's great. I love the characters. I love the world, and I'm excited to slowly make my way through the next book. I think I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. After that, I read the first book in the Mistborn Era 2 Quartet by Brandon Sanderson, The Alloy of Law. I had not read any of these before, so I was pretty excited to get into them. I've been rereading the Mistborn series, and yeah, it's nice to cover new ground in that world. And it was not at all what I expected. I kind of understand why some people may be slightly put off by these, though, I've heard that kind of online. Is like some people don't like Mistborn Era 2 as much as Mistborn Era 1, but I mean, if you're just looking at like Goodreads ratings, it's still rated very high, so take that or leave it. But I mean, I understand how some people might be put off because it's just entirely different. They really have almost nothing to do with each other. This one is like a Western with Sherlock Holmes vibes.
Whoa!
Yeah.
What a combo!
Yeah, it's very
I thought that was shocking.
Lawman, Wax, and his partner, who is our kind of Sherlock figure, and his partner Wayne. There is a
Wax and Wayne.
Wax and Wayne.
Wait,
yes,
that's cute.
His name is Waxilium, I believe, but yes, Wax and Wayne. So that I love anything with Sherlock Holmes coded, so I will absolutely read that. It was a lot of fun. It was short, also, which I think is a huge benefit to it. Brandon Sanderson is not known for writing short books, and it was such like a fun kind of lower stakes, like it's not like the end of the world standalone kind of like solving a heist crime spree. It was really, really fun. I had a lot I had a much better time than I was expecting. And I wasn't expecting it to be bad. I just wasn't expecting it to be so different and so kind of engaging. And then, of course, in Brandon Sanderson style, I think it's like the epilogue or something, does a ton of heavy lifting to be like, look at all these things that are about to happen. So I assume we're not going to get such a standalone kind of romp going forward with the next books. But I am looking forward to them a lot more than I originally was, because I thought it was a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, the only things that I can think of why people would kind of be turned off by it is like, Mistborn Era 1 is much more like regular fantasy. This is much more Western, kind of almost like steampunky. Not really, but mostly Western. And then also, jokes per page. I think I've never seen Branderson try and be this funny. Oh. And if you don't like that humor, it's gonna be a rough go. The character of Wayne is like the jester kind of clown type of character who is always cracking jokes, like literally almost never opens his mouth and is being serious. And I like that type of character. Not all of his humor landed for me, but because I like that type of character in general, I still enjoy it. It's like a big trope in fantasy. I still enjoyed it, but if you don't like Wayne's humor, I can see this series being rough for you. But otherwise, a lot of fun. And then I ended off the month, of course, with Dungeon Crawler Carl, and I am now caught up, which was really sad. I think the next one's coming out sometime at the end of the summer or in the fall, which is great. But this was called The Eye of the Bedlam Bride, and at first I wasn't entirely sure about this one. I mean, the concept is great, because this floor, the entire concept is essentially like a combination of Pokemon and a janky Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's really wild. But this book, I feel like, in the end of the last one, is a really big turning point, or at least it feels like it as a reader to me, because, it's still irreverent, it's still very funny, it's still goofy, but it's also a lot more serious, and a lot more bad things are starting to happen to our characters. Like, that was kind of starting to come through at the end of the last book. In this book, it just feels like it kind of continues. So for a lot of it, it felt way more intense than I was kind of used to for something that I kind of have always seen as such a light read, and that's not a bad thing. But the end of this book was just like non-stop kind of, I really didn't know who was going to survive and who was going to die, and I still don't. But again, still love the series. 5 out of 5 stars, and I don't know what I'm going to do going forward without having one of these to read every month. But that's okay, because next month I have to read the last book in Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, which the title is To Green Angel Tower. There it is. I kind of lost it. But I don't know if I'm even going to finish that in the month. So I might have to take a break to read Mistborn while in the middle of it or something. But that is probably going to be what I'm reading this month. And I guess we can transition to what we're going to be reading this coming month. The goal is to read the 4th book in the Heroes of Olympus series, The House of Hades. For me to read A Court of Wings and Ruin from ACOTAR, and for Liz to do
Path of Daggers.
Path of Daggers in Wheel of Time. Full disclosure, the Olympics are on. Yeah. We really like the Olympics. I've been watching them a lot.
24/7.
And pretty much 24/7, which means I have not been reading anywhere near as much as I normally do. So I don't know what our video release schedule is going to be like this month, because I don't know when I'm going to read, or if I'm going to read as much. So it might be a very slow reading month for me. Yeah. But hopefully we still get some videos out.
Yeah. We'll at least do Wheel of Time, because I'm almost done with
definitely do Wheel of Time. I mean, we may just be doing, Heroes of Olympus and ACOTAR later in the month once the Olympics are over and have a little bit more free time. But, are there any other independent books that you are looking forward to reading this month?
Yes, I got 3 random books from the library.
Oh. Okay.
Should I name them?
Yeah, if you know them, go.
The first one was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which one of you has been recommending to us for a while, so gonna give it a try. It was available at the library, so a lot of times that determines what I read is what's available at the library or through the library apps that I use. And then I got Verity by Colleen Hoover, just simply because everyone says that that's a Colleen Hoover book you need to read, and I've read It Starts With Us and It Ends With Us, which are now becoming a movie. And everyone says, oh my gosh, you have to read Verity. So haven't read Verity, so looking forward to that, because Colleen Hoover is definitely a good beach summer read moment, even though I think it's kind of a thriller, which I've never read, to be honest with you. So got that from the library. And then the last one, I was influenced by TikTok, and I believe it was by the author of this book, and I'm going to forget their name, but it's called Honey Witch.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, and I think it's like a sapphic. Do you say sapphic?
Sapphic?
That's like 2 women, Anyways,
I don't know that word.
I believe it's a lesbian witch romance. So first of all, the cover got me, Honey Witch got me, and this TikTok video they were describing it. I was like,
I will absolutely read that. It sounds like a weird Winnie the Pooh.
A little bit. I think, yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's a romance. This is how much I know about it. It looks really cute. Definitely judge it by its cover and by the TikTok that I saw that was like, do you like a lesbian witch romance? And I was like, sign me up. Sign me up. Like, say less. Which feels kind of nice to, I'll probably read that near the end of the month to kind of softly nudge myself into fall content.
Awesome.
Anywho, that's it.
Yeah, those are our, well, that's it, I think. I think that's everything. That's another month. Thanks for hanging out with us. Did you read anything cool this month? We love recommendations. Throw them into the chat. Throw them into the comments down below. What was your favorite read this month? What was your least favorite read? Otherwise, you know, like, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz. But thank you all so much for watching, and
we'll see you on our next adventure.